This week we're going to be reading the Parshios of Tazria and Metzora. The Parsha begins, Parshas Tazria begins, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor, Daber el Bnei Yisrael lemor, Isha ki Tazria, when a woman will conceive, the Yolda Zachar, and she'll give birth to a male, so she'll have Tameh, and the Torah tells us about the mitzvah of Bris Milah, which we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. Rashi, in the first Rashi, is concerned with the juxtaposition of Parshas Tazria coming following what we read last Shabbos in Parshas Shmini with all the halachos of kashrus. So Rashi writes, he says, and he's quoting the Medrash. The Rashi says, Amar Rabbi Simloi writes, Kishem she yitziraso shel adam achar kol behema chayav ha'of, just as the creation of man way back in Sefer Breshis, at the beginning of creation, came at the end, after all the animals were created. The animals were created, the fish and the birds, on day number 5, and the rest of the animals on day number 6. And at the end of day number 6, that's when man, Adam, was created. So just as there in Breshis, at creation, the creation of man was the culmination, came after the creation of all the other animals. Kach Toraso nisparsha achar Toras behema chayav ov. So too, its Torah, its laws, are also delineated and explained and elaborated upon after the animals. Last week we read about the kashrus of animals, the halachas that apply to animals, and therefore this week we come to the halachas that apply to human beings, to people, talking about bris milah, the birth of a person, and subsequently we'll talk about Metzora, tzaras, and hilchos tuma and tahara. So the laws that pertain to human beings come after the laws that are given to us in reference to animals. On that Rashi, the Maral in Gur Aryeh wants to discuss it. So the Maral says as follows. Maral writes, first he quotes the Medrash, and he tells us, B'Vayikra Rabbah, this is found in Vayikra Rabbah, and he says, Dim lo kain lama makdim parshas behema chayav of la parshas adam. Why is this here? Why does the parsha behema chayav of, last week's parsha that has to do with animals, come before Toras Adam? Okay, Ela kishem, it is as if. Okay, now comes the Maharal and he says, I have a problem. He says, I'm not exactly sure that Medrash, as we just explained it, is exactly what the concept of the Medrash is. I think we could understand it a little differently. He says as follows: V'yafal gav de gabe bria mefarish begemara be'perek echad dine mamanos. He says, why was it, in fact, that back in Sefer Breshis, in Parshas Breshis, by Maisa Breshis, man came last? What was the reason for it? Why was it that in the process of the Bria that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man last? So that's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, and the parak called Echad Dinei Mamanos, and the Gemara there says, She'im Yisga'e Adam, if a person becomes haughty, a person becomes a little bit full of himself, so to speak, Omrim lo, we say to him, who do you think you are? We have to instill with him a little bit of humility. We have to show him that he's not such a big knocker. And we tell him, Afilu yitush kadmacha. Even the small little insignificant creature, a gnat, little flea, a little insect preceded you in creation. Who do you think you are? You think you're such a big shot? De b'shvil zeh, we're on line 6. De b'shvil zeh nivra adam achron l'maaseh bereshis. And this was the reason that man was created last at Maaseh Bereshis. The Maharal, in another place, explains what the idea is there. First, he says, someplace else that why is it in fact that man came last? That test a little bit of humility. So he says that man is a combination of all other creatures, and they are all physical. Man is the only creature that's not only physical, but it's also spiritual, and he has das and chachma. He is a combination of guf and seichel, and therefore you always do the more simplistic thing first and the more complicated thing second. And since man is the most complicated, so he came afterwards. Maharal discusses elsewhere exactly the concept of why man came last. But the Maharal continues here on line 7. There are other reasons there too, back in Sanhedrin. So therefore, he says, V'im came. He says, if that's the case, kasha. Kavan da osan tamen lo shaichem ka. He says, those reasons don't apply here. The reason that man came last applies in creation. But those same reasons apply when you're talking about bris milah, tuma tahara, tzaras? Not necessarily. Vim kain kasha, kevan de osan tamen lo shaychen, ela im kain b'torah lo shaychen. They don't apply. Im kain, if that's the case, b'torasan, when it comes to the laws, when it comes to the halachas, when it comes to how man should act, lo mamakdim behem achayev ha'of, l'toras ha'adam. Why, in fact, do the rules of man come after Behema Chayev Ha'of? V'dochak lomar. And he says, I think it would be a stretch to say, Aidi de makdim b'yitzira makdim nami b'torah. I think it would be a stretch to say that, well, let's parallel. Just like over there it went, animals came first and then man. So over here too, we'll do animals first and then man. No. We're just doing it because, that's the pattern. He says, no. Delashon kishem lo mashmachi. Then the phrase that Rabbi Simloi said in the Medrash, kishem, just as. It's not just because that's the pattern. It's no, there are parallels. And just as over there it was that way, over here it has to be that way as well. He says, the lashon kishem lo mashmahachi, the havale lememar. If it was just because that's the style to do it, or the way he did it over there, so we're going to do it over here as well. Lomar keva, then say since we did it over there, we do it over here as well. But it doesn't say kevan. It doesn't say since. It says kishem, just as. So havale lememar, it should have said kevan. Take the mitziras behema chayev ha'of, just as kevan, since it was over there, so it's here too. Therefore, the Maharal answers as follows. Listen to what he says. V'yesh lomar. So I want to tell you the pshat. Degam torasan eich yihiyu misnahagim hu davar dome lebriya. He says their Torah, the way they have to act, the rules and regulations that apply to animals and to man are exactly the same. In other words, over there and over here. What does that mean? He says, Eich yihiyu misnagim, how they should act, hu davar dome lebriya. It's exactly like creation. Kimo shahabriya hi tikunam, because the bria is its tikunam. In other words, it is the way it was made. It was the way it was to be existing. You'll see what that means in a minute. Hachanami torasan hi tikun havayasam. Therefore, the Torah is the way they have to act. They have to be. They have to be established. Just like creation was done in a certain way, the Torah has to be done in a certain way as well. Listen to what he says. Lakach kishem. Because of that parallel, that's why we use the term kishem. Shemakdim bebriya chayav ofos. Since in the bria at creation, the chay and the ophos came and the behemoths came before man, so too hachanami b'torasan. also in the Torah. Why? Listen, De'ein ha-Torah ela gamar tikuna. Because the Torah is the completion of their creation. The Torah, the way they have to act, the rules and regulations that apply to man is the culmination, is the completion, is the final act, so to speak, or the final part of their creation. Look at this. Look, De'ein Torah el Gemar Tikuna, ubeshvil kach amru. That's the same idea that the Gemara says in Shabbos, and Chazal tell us, Hosif Hey Beshishi. What does it say? Vayhi Erev Vayvoker Yom Hashishi. It was the sixth day. What is the sixth day? It should say Vayhi Erev Vayvoker Yom Shishi. It was sixth day, not the specific the sixth day. So as we know, it says Hashishi is the sixth day. What sixth day? The sixth day of Sivan. And the Gemara tells us, Lomar shekol ma'aseh bereshis hayutolu v'omdim ad shishi b'sivan. All of creation was in abeyance, was waiting for that day over 2 centuries later, over 2,000 years later, rather, 2,000 years later, the sixth day of Sivan, im yakablu Torah, muta vim lav yachzu l'tovavo. The whole creation was waiting, was in a sense of not completed until the sixth day of Sivan in the year 2448. And when Klal Yisrael accepted the Torah, that put the final completion on the Bria, on the creation. Because the completion of Bria was through Torah. It's one of the ideas the Nitziv says in his introduction to Sefer Shmos, that the Sefer Shmos, the Bahag, refers to Sefer Shmos as Sefer Hasheni, the second book of the Torah. Bereshis is the first, and the second one he doesn't call Shmos, he calls it Sefer Hasheni. So the Nitziv explains that this was just the continuation of Sefer Harishon, because Sefer Harishon's not complete, not in its finished state until they accepted the Torah. That's why Shmos and the creation of Klal Yisrael and Matan Torah was the final way that the creation was completed. And that's what he says here. She'ein gemar briyasan rak al yidei Torah. This is the end of line 20. Shehi mesakein ha'olam. This is how the world is finished, is fixed, is completed. V'hu ikar tikuno. And that is the way it was established. V'im lo yikablu yachzu latov avohu. She'ein kan tikun. If they don't accept the Torah, then it would not be completed. It would not be in its completed form. That is the Bria. And that's exactly what is happening over here. The Bria was not completed. Creation was not completed until Matan Torah. And therefore, that's exactly what Rashi's telling us here. The Medrash Rabbi Simlai is telling us here, that just as in creation we have to have man, animals and man, and that was the purpose of creation, the Torah of them also comes at the end, because that's what creation is all about. It's the way, it's when we accept the Torah and the way we act as the law, rules and laws and regulations that are applicable to us. That is exactly what the purpose, how the Torah is structured. The Torah comes after we talk about the animals, just like we did over there. So we mentioned that there is the mitzvah of bris milah is listed in Parshios Tazria. The Torah tells us at the beginning of the parsha, the Torah says that Isha kizazir v'yoldo zachar. Okay, so she becomes Tmeya, Uvayom Hashmini Yimol Basar Alaso. And on the 8th day, he should have bris milah. So there's very interesting customs about a bris milah. Something I thought I'd like to share with you is about Eliyahu HaNavi. we all know that Eliyahu Hanavi comes to every bris. And what's the source of Eliyahu Hanavi coming to every bris? So these Medrash and Pirkei Rebbe Lezer that says that Eliyahu Hanavi was very zealous with the Jewish people, that they weren't keeping bris milah, and he stood up for the mitzvah of bris milah. Kadosh Baruch Hu said to him, Chayecha shein Yisrael osem bris, and you're going to be able to see that Klal Yisrael is keeping a bris milah, keeping the mitzvah of bris milah. Mikan, the Medrash Pirkei Rebbe Lezer, you don't have it on the sheet, but the Medrash says, Mikan iskinu chachamim mishiyu osim moshav kavod l'malach habris. From here, the Pirkei Rebbe Lezer, the Medrash tells us that they would make a place for the malach habris, for the angel of bris, who's Eliyahu Hanavi. For who anikra tzleinu kisei shel Eliyahu, and that's called the kisei shel Eliyahu. So there's a very interesting discussion that Chassam Sofer has in his tshuva. It is in Chelik Vav, the Likutim Siman Tzad Ches. We'll just do a little bit of it. There, the Chassam Sofer is bothered by a Gemara, and he's going to bring in bris milah parenthetically, but you'll see what it has to do with us. The Gemara says in Eruvin that Eliyahu Hanavi cannot come on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Why not? Because we have a halacha called Tchum Shabbos. Tchum Shabbos means the boundary. How far can somebody walk or travel on Shabbos? And the Gemara talks about, are there tchumin above Yud Tfachim, not only horizontal but vertical as well? There are tchumin. And therefore, the Gemara says, since Eliyahu Hanavi has to travel, and you're not allowed to travel out of the tchum, how can Eliyahu Hanavi, the Gemara says that Eliyahu Hanavi cannot come on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Okay? So based on that, the Chassam Sofer asks, if that's the case, if that is the case, that we know that that Mashiach can't come, meaning Eliyahu Hanavi can't come to be Mavaser, to tell us the news of the imminent Geula on Shabbos or Yom Tov, because of the tchum. So therefore, how does Eliyahu come to bris? And he bris on Shabbos. And that's what he says right here. He says, look at line 1 here in the middle of the tshuva. V'su, harei nagu alma b'mila le'mor zeh kisei shel Eliyahu zachal hatov. V'gam mispalim hamolim sheyamdu Eliyahu al yaminam. And the mole says that Eliyahu should be on their right. You mean V'zeh omrim oso afilu b'Shabbos, and we say that on Shabbos. Okay? U'l'shmaitza harei ef shalovo b'Shabbos mishum safek hatchumim l'mala miyud. He really shouldn't come on Shabbos, because are there tchumin above Yud Tfachim? U'betur Shulchan Aruch Arachayim. The Gemara there says, Mishum hachi, sorry. Maskir piyutim sheyesh bahem Eliyahu b'motzoi Shabbos. Mishum shlo yev shelo levo be'erev Shabbos. He mentions that in Motzoi Shabbos and Malav Malka, what do? We sing Eliyahu Hanavi. We mention Eliyahu at Malav Malka, Motzoi Shabbos. Why is that? Well, because Eliyahu couldn't come on Shabbos. So now Shabbos is over. So now, once again, we are able to welcome Eliyahu. So that's why we sing Eliyahu Hanavi after we make Havdalah or during our Malav Malka on Shabbos, and on Motzoi Shabbos. He says, V'gam b'prima gadim anal tama. Gam b'motzoi Yom Tov lema mehai taimayin sham. So we should also, he also asks a question, why don't we sing about Eliyahu on Motzoi Yom Tov if Eliyahu can't come on Yom Tov either, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But says the Chassam Sofer, listen to this. He says, Avala emes yoradarko. He says, I want to tell you the truth. Kimi olam lo Eliyahu begufo l'malam miyud. There's Eliyahu Hanavi, and then there's Eliyahu Stam, and you'll see what I mean by that. There's Eliyahu, who is the supernatural Navi, and then there's Eliyahu, the physical person. He says Eliyahu physically with his guf never went lamala miyud tfachim. Ach nifrada nishmaso migufo. His neshama and his body separated. Vaneshama ola umeshamesh lamala ben malchei sharetz. His neshama went up and it is serving above in Shemayim amongst the malchei asharetz. V'gufo nistadek b'shora began eden atachton. But his physical body is somewhere down here in the Gan Eden Hatachton, in somewhere in this world. Ba'olam hazeh. Ubiyom ha'besura b'meher v'yameinu, on the day that he's going to tell us that the Mashiach is imminently coming, b'meher v'yameinu, tis lavosh nishmaso b'guf hakadosh halaz. Then his neshama and his guf are going to once again be reunited. And he will once again resume and be a person that we would be able to recognize as a chacham, a navi Yisrael. And he is the one who had smicha, who was taught by his Rebbe, Achia Hashiloni, Omi Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, or he even got smicha from Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, Imu Pinchas. Chazal tell us that Pinchas and Eliezer, the same one. So that's who Eliyahu Hanavi is, but that's Eliyahu the Chacham, Eliyahu the Talmud Chacham, Eliyahu the Chacham Yisrael. In the who Yismoch es Chachme Yisrael, and what will his job be? Says the Chassam Sofer. He will in turn give smicha to the Chachamim of Yisrael who are around at the time of the Mashiach. He will reinstitute the smicha, so to speak. V'oz yesh lo din k'chol b'nei Yisrael, and he's just like every one of Klal Yisrael. V'chein b'chol pam shemisgala u'misra b'olam hazeh, and anytime Eliyahu Hanavi was revealed and was seen in Olam Hazeh, and the Gemara is replete with different times when Eliyahu appeared to the Tanam of the Amoraim, melubash begufo hazach. He's physical. He is a physical being. Ach kamishem misgala b'nishmaso, but when Eliyahu Hanavi reveals himself just in his neshama, kimo b'yom hamila, as he does on Yom HaMilah. He's not doesn't physically attend every bris milah. The neshama, the spiritual navi comes at a bris milah. Azein ena mechuyev b'mitzvos. Why? He's not chayev to do mitzvos. Why? Because we have a rule. Chazal tell us, b'meisim chavshi ksiv. It says those who are no longer physically alive are exempt from doing mitzvahs. Va'od, sharinim matal amal lo shayich sham tchumim. When he's coming from down, from above, tchumim don't apply. Okay, tchumim apply up. They don't apply down, says the Chassam Sofer. Okay, then he says, ukar shemizgala al ofan zeh, when he reveals himself in such a context, harehu malach, he's a malach, he's an angel. Afal pi shalome Torah u'megaladinim ein likvoa halacha al pi dvarav. Even though when he's the malach, he is the neshama, he's the spiritual, in the spiritual realm, and he'll tell us a halacha, we can't paskin that way, okay? The havale rak kamo chalom. It's only spiritual. It's no physicality to it. V'ruach nevuah. Ve'ein mashgichim lebaskol. We don't pay attention to a baskol. That's not how we determine halacha. Ach kemishgala b'levush gufo. But when he will reveal himself in his body, physical, harehu migdolei chacha Yismael. And that's the pshat in V'tishbi Yatarex Kushios Rabayas. You've ever seen at the end of a Gemara, the Gemara asks a question, says Teku. What's Teku? Tishbi Yatarex Kushios and Rabayas. Tishbi, when he is physical, he'll be able to come, Elio at Tishbi, he will be able to come and give answers. That's when he comes in the realm or as the Chacham, the Talmud Chacham, in the physical body. then we can listen to him in the halachas. But when he's coming betur navi, as a navi, that we don't paskin. That's why the Gemara says in very often when it comes to questions that we're not sure what happened, Yehe munach al ad sheyavo Eliyahu. Let it be till Eliyahu comes, because a navi can know, is it mine, is it his? He knows the inner workings. But when it comes to paskin halacha, the Gemara doesn't say Yehe munach ad sheyavo Eliyahu. It says teku tishbi. When he's physical, he'll be able to answer it. The tishbi yataritz kushas v'abayas. The elav hamatmon ki mi muchach Torah. Ki mi kamoso mora. Who is like him who can teach it? Ukashiraso Rabbeinu Rabba Bar Chana bebeis hakvara shel Goyim, as Rabba Bar Chana saw him in a non-Jewish cemetery. Okay, and not to belabor this point, but if Eliyahu was a Kohen, how could he be in a cemetery, etc., which is a whole different issue. In any event, the idea here, the takeaway from this piece of the Chassam Sofer is a very interesting thing. How does Eliyahu Hanavi come to a bris? If he can't come to be mavaser us about the Geula on Shabbos or Yantif, it's because Eliyahu comes either as the physical or as the spiritual. When he comes to a bris, he's a physical. He also says later down here in this paragraph all about the concept of why we don't do it on Yantif, and he wants to say that maybe on Yantif you could do it, he could come, but just midrabanan we say he can't come. That's for a different shir, but this is a fascinating idea that the Chassam Sofer wants to suggest. The Torah tells us in Hilchos Tzoras, V'ra HaKohen, the Kohen will see the nega, will see the malady on the person. Vine kisasat zaras kolbasaro. What if his entire body has been completely become white? The tzaras has engulfed his entire body. The tiaras anega kulo hafach lavan ta'aru, and the Kohen will be metaher the nega because he's completely white, and therefore he's tahar. In other words, if there are blotches, spots on his body, then the Kohen will declare him to be tameh, to be a tsarua, that he has saras. But in the effect that he is completely white from head to toe, the tsaras took his entire body, so then the Torah says that he's tahar in that case. Now, there's a fascinating Gemara in Masechah Sanhedrin. We mentioned Mashiach. So the Gemara there tells us in Sanhedrin, where the Gemara is discussing the concept of Mashiach and what are some of the criteria for Mashiach to come and what signs will we see. So the Gemara says, the Sanhedrin Tzadik Zayin, it says, Amr Yitzchak, Ein ben David ba acha tishafeich kol hamalchus leminos. That Mashiach will not come until the entire kingdom will be minas, will be heretics, will be non-believers. And in the Girsa, in the Ein Yaakov, it says, Ad sheha malchus tiya minas. The malchus, the kingdom, not kol malchus, but the malchus, ostensibly that's talking about Eretz Yisrael, but we're not sure, tiya minas, will become heretics. Amar Rava, how do we know that? How do we know that Mashiach's not going to come until the kingdom is turned to complete heresy? Based on the pasuk that we just quoted, Mikra, Kulo Hafach Lavan Tahor. His entire body has switched to become white, to become leprous, which leprosy is not saras, but for the sake of this translation, we'll say that. Tahor, who's Tahor, Ad Khan. That's the Gemara. So Rav Schwab, in Main, Beis HaShoeva, says, what's the pshat? Perish Rashi, first of all, he quotes Rashi on that Gemara in Sanhedrin. We're here on line 5. Kulo hafach lavan taharhu. So he says, Kisha pashat hanega b'chola or, when the nega has spread throughout the entire skin, on the person's skin, kach, similarly, kisha nepcha kol ha-malchus laminos. When the entire malchus, when the entire kingdom will become heretics, tavo geula. That's when the geula is going to come. Says Rav Schwab, Vadayin tzarich be'er. Still, I don't understand. Eifo marumas b'pasuk zeh shedin prati zeh shu mechlal hilchos negoim shayach gam kein le'in hagula. How is it hinted to in this pasuk, which is a specific halacha within the halachas of negoim? Parshios, Tazria, Metzora are replete with many halachos with all the halachos of tzaras, and there are many, many intricate halachas about tzaras and how to become tahar and all the rules that apply. And this is one specific halacha within Hilchos Negaim, that if he's completely white, he's tahar. What does it have to do with the geula? Why is this the pasuk that Rava tells us, teaches us that halacha? Line 10. V'nira l'farish. Sheyadua. He says, I want to explain as follows. It's well known. She'ein lahatuma koach chiyus atzmi. Tuma cannot exist in a vacuum. Tuma cannot exist by itself. Ela shehi yonekes min hatahora. Tuma has to have some type of life-giving aspect to it. And where does it get its life from? From tahara. In other words, Tuma is a lack of tahara. You have tahara, and when purity is not complete, what takes over from that tahara? That's Tuma. Tuma is a lack of tahara. Okay? Im ein kan l'chol hapachas shoresh katan shel tahara, as a Tuma no felas me'elav. If there's even a little drop of tahara, then the tuma will fall by the wayside. You need to have some tahara in order for the tuma to exist. V'lachein, im kulo hafach lavan tahar, if the person is completely white, shelo nishar makom yanika l'tuma, there's no place left for the tuma, because he's completely tahar. Again, tuma is where there's a lack of tahara. But if there's no lack of tahara, if there is no lack of tahara, it's completely white, then there's no place for the tumah to be. The dugma lazeh, he masha perish Rashi b'maisa meraglim. Says, listen to this. Listen to how I can tell you it's true. He says, because in the meraglim, in Parsha Shlach Lecha, shalakain hikdimu hameraglim lomar she eretz zavas chalav dvash. When the meraglim came back and they had the intention to say negative things about Eretz Yisrael and say the Lashon Hara that they spoke about Eretz Yisrael, they prefaced it by saying, it's a land that's flowing with milk and honey. It's an Eretz Zavas Chalav Dvash. Why did they have to say that? Why couldn't they just come back and say, the place is terrible, the place stinks, and we can't overtake the Canaanim, etc., etc.? Why did they have to preface it by saying that it's Eretz Zavas Chalav Dvash? Mishum, Shekol Dover Sheker She'ein Omrim Bo Tzas Emes B'Tchilaso Ein Miskayim B'Sofar Ad Kam Lashona. Rashi says a lie is only a lie if there's a little truth to it. If there's no truth if there's no truth at all, it's a complete lie. It's not going to last. But once you have a little truth in it, it'll last. Same thing. There has to be a little bit of tahara for the tumah to last. If there's complete tahara, then there's no place for the tumah to be. Vadvar misparshim al derech hanal. And we can understand that Rashi about the meraglim based on what I'm telling you. Shahasheker ein lo raglayim, as the Gemara says in Shabbos. Sheker has nothing to stand on. Vim eino yonek ma'emes, if it can't get its sustenance, so to speak, from truth, harei miyadu no fail. So then it's gone. L'chein ein hasheker miskayim b'li taruvas ashu emes. Sheker will not be able to sustain itself. Sheker cannot be able to stand unless there's a combination of emes as well. Umizeh danu chazal, and that's the pshat in the Gemara that we started with. Sheyiyah hazman hamuchsha legeula. When will the geula come? When will be the proper time for the geula? Kishakol hamalchus nepcha leminas. When there's complete heresy, when there's a complete non-belief, when everything goes negative. Once everything is 100% negative, then the Geula is going to come. Because when it's not all negative, then there's no place for it to come. Sheshuv lo tiyeh lo lahaminus makom yanika. Because then there's no place for it to grab onto anymore. Umemela, and as we say on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur davening, kol harisha kula ke'ashan tichleh. All the evil in its entirety, ke'ashan tichleh, like smoke, it will be completed, it will be finished, it will be destroyed. And that's when everything is completely negative, that's the time that the Mashiach will come. In Parshas, we continue. In Parshas Metzora, the Torah tells us about the Bayis HaMenuga. What's the Bayis HaMenuga? The Bayis HaMenuga is a house that gets tzaras. The Torah tells us, Ki savo al eretz Canaan, when you come into the land of Canaan, v'nasati nega tzaras beveis eretz achuzaschem. He says, I will bring tzaras upon a house in the land of your possessions. And Rashi tells us, it's a very famous Rashi, Rashi says, B'suri lachem, I'm giving you good news. Shahanagaim ba'im alayhem. I'm giving you good news that the Nagam are coming upon you. And you're going to have to go in your house, and you're going to have to, your house will be afflicted with tzaras, and as the Torah says, you have to knock it down, etc. And when you knock it down, you know what's going to happen? You're going to find treasures buried in the walls. Shahanagan ba'am alayhem lefi shetminu amaroim matmino shel zahav. The Amorites who lived in the houses before Klal Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael, they hid treasures, gold and silver, etc., in the walls of the houses. So he says, I'm giving you good news. I'm telling you that you're going to get tzaras. The houses are going to be afflicted with tzaras. And since you're going to have to knock down the walls, guess what you're going to find? You're going to find the treasures, the gold, the silver, whatever the Amorites had hidden. Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, L'chora Tamua, he says, this is perplexing. How come there's an onesh? And if you look in the Gemara in Arachin, which discusses Lashon Hara and the Tzaras, it says that the house has it, it becomes because of Tzaras Ha'ayin. Tzaras Ha'ayin is translated as stinginess. Person's stingy. And he doesn't want to have his house do anything, whatever it is, so he knocks the house down. He has to knock the house down. He didn't want to share things, so etc. So 1 second. This is a punishment? It's not a punishment. It's a reward. Look at this. You're going to get a reward. So says Rav Moshe, V'tzarech lomar. He says, I have to tell you as follows. Tzarech lomar, the alkoponim, av shezoch lahamatmon, even though he's going to be zochet to the treasure, to what's hidden, kamakam hayazakai gomor. If a person was completely innocent, if you are completely innocent, if you're 100%, pure as the wind-driven snow, so then you wouldn't have to go through any negativity. Umidalo nasan lo Hashem elai they hefsid v'tzar. Since the only way you're going to get this treasure is through losing something, your house has to be knocked down. It's going to be tsar. It's going to be painful. What do we see from here? He did something wrong and he has to be punished. You're right. You have to be punished. But you also have some zchus, you have some merit. That's why the treasure was revealed to him. He has to worry about chet. Person, he gets this positive thing, so he has to be worried about chet. And do tshuva, and you should not think that, oh, look, I got this great reward. No. You have to think twice, because it had to come through something negative, and therefore, you shouldn't say, oh, I got this reward, I don't have to worry about how I got it. No. Something came through such a concept of negativity, you have to think about that as well. I just want to very briefly do a piece from the Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim, who, as you know, wrote the Sefer on Lashon Hara, Shmiras HaLashon, and Sefer Chavetz Chaim, asks a question that I think is important that we all have to ask, and this is a long piece. I'm not going to do the whole thing, just a couple of lines of it. The Chavetz Chaim asks, how come we don't have it today? How come this concept of tzaras doesn't apply today? He says it here. This is in the 6th parak of Shmiras HaLashon. We see, unfortunately, there are people who speak Lashon Hara. He says, and they don't get tzaras. Okay? So he says, he goes on to explain exactly what happened. He says, "L'chein bizman shahaya mikdash kayem v'hayalon kohen metaher." When there was a Beis HaMikdash and the Kohen would be metaher, as we mentioned before, im nichshalim of lashon hara, haya kadosh baruch hu mevi alav onesh hanagoyim. A person, when the Beis HaMikdash stood, a person unfortunately would speak Lashon Hara, so he'd have to go through the process of tzaras, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu would bring the Nagoyim on him, and even if he didn't bring it on his body, Rak al Koros Beso, HaYetzorach Ba'atzma Lavo Kohen, he still himself, even if it didn't come on his person, but it went on his house, he just has to go to the Kohen and say what happened, etc. So why don't we have it today? So he answers over here. We're going to start right here. This is on line 50, where I'm pointing to. Line 50. V'hinei, kol zeh haya bizman shaya mikdash kayim. All of these laws, and again, you're more than welcome to study the entire piece. It's very worthwhile. He says, kol zeh haya bizman shaya mikdash kayim. Ma she'en kein ata. But now, Bavonosenu harabim she'en lanu lo mikdash lo karbanos lo kohen metayer im haya kadosh baruch hu maybe is hanagoyim al gufo haya nishar betumaso la'ad. You know why we don't have it today? Because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. Because we're on a much lower level. If a person would get tzaras today, and again, it's not leprosy, it's tzaras. If a person would get tzaras today, he would be tameh, whatever that means in our day and age, permanently. Okay? Ve'ein boltin al gufo mibachutz. And he says, and it wouldn't be on the outside. Zeh kavanas hamed shomer pivu l'shoner shomer mitzoras nafsho. Mitzoras nafsho ki ha'ynav atzaras devuka b'nefesh. The reason we don't have it today is because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. But then he says that makes it worse. Why? Because at least when the Beis HaMikdash stood, you would be able to cleanse yourself. You do tshuva, you bring a korban. But unfortunately, nowadays, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, so a person who does this aveira, speaking Lashon Hara, and anything that it would come for it, would now cause him to be permanently damaged. Not physically, with the signs of the tzaras, but spiritually. And it's stuck on his neshama forever. And therefore, al kalponim achar ptiraso, down here, line 63, achar ptiraso sheyotza nefesh me'aguf yizgala zumo sarasa leinei akol. When the nefesh and the guf separate, your nefesh is diseased with tzaras. And therefore, that is a terrible thing. So we don't have it today because we're not on that level. We can't be cleansed. But that makes it worse for us. If a person is speaking Lashon Hara and you can't get cleansed to go into the Beis HaMikdash, just think what your neshama looks like if a person who speaks Lashon Hara. Again, there's a lot to talk about here, but a person should understand what the concepts that the Chavetz Chaim is talking about and how it affects each and every one of us. I want to conclude with something which I think is very appropriate for this day and age, for what's happening with us right now. I saw this in the Sefer called Drash Mordechai from Rav Mordechai Druk, who says something, again, I think it's very interesting and appropriate based on the times that we are living in. The Pasuk says, Zos tia Torah Metzora b'yom Torasa v'uva al kohen. These are the laws of the Metzora on the day of his becoming Tahar, and he's brought to the Kohen. So Rav Druk quotes a medrash in Tehillim, and the medrash says as follows: Amru Chazal b'medrash. Shabikesh David HaMelech alav hashalom milufanav yisbarach sha'osek Tehillim yechashev etzlo ki'ilu haya osek b'negan ba'ahalos. David HaMelech made a request to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says the medrash. What's the request? The request is that somebody who is osek, who's involved, who says Tehillim, it should be as if he is been osek, has been involved in negaim and ohalos, in nega and halachas of tuma and tara and ohalos, etc. The person that recites Tehillim, it is as if he's been involved in tuma, tahara, and saras, etc. Says Rav Druk, why specifically negaim, saras, ohalos, tuma, tahara? How is the recitation of Tehillim, I'm just reading the psukim, considered as if I'm learning and understanding and being involved in the halachas of negaim, of tzaras, etc. V'hinei, he says, Anachnu kibnei Torah, we Torah students, regilam l'nateach kol davar b'svara v'higayon. We are used to analyzing things logically and with a thought process. Notnim l'zalzel b'dvarim she'ena mevinim. We just, negate things that we really don't understand. Tosu biyadenu dvarim. He says, dvarim tosu biyadenu. That's a tremendous mistake. Elohim vitaminim ruchaniim. These are spiritual vitamins. Listen to this. He says, Agon Reb Simcha Wasserman, Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha, the son of Reb Elchanan, Reb Simcha Wasserman, Omer Beir Nifla. He said an unbelievable pshat. Listen to the pshat. HaTorah nimshal lechem. The Torah is compared to bread, as it says in Mishlei Perek Tes, Lechu lachamu belachmi. Go take lachamu belachmi. So he says like this: L'lechem yesh shtei techunos yisod. There are two fundamental characteristics for bread. Reishis hum asbiu mazin es haguf. It satisfies and it feeds the body. B'nosaf lakach, it is, it gives you sustenance. B'nosaf lakach, but in addition to the fact that it is filling to the body, he says, yesh bo gam tam orav l'chayach. It's pleasant to the palate. It tastes good. And what's interesting, he says, these two characteristics also apply as a person is eating it. The taste, how long do you keep it in your mouth? How long do you chew it? The longer you keep it in your mouth, the nicer it tastes. How long do you keep the food in your mouth so you can taste it? Ulam, however, once it goes down your throat, I have no more control over it. It starts to become digested. And now it is broken down by the digestive process, which will now give sustenance to the body. Therefore, you see that the sustenance part has nothing to do with me. In other words, I have a control over the part about being tasty. I keep it in my mouth, I chew it. I can, that's under my control. But once I swallow it, once it's gone down, so I no longer have any, so to speak, control over it. And that is now within something that is hidden from me. But the taste of it, the sweetness of it, that has to do with man. So, says Reb Simcha Wasserman, these two characteristics, when it comes to bread, apply also when it comes to Torah. Why? Our intellectual capacity and our abilities to understand something. That's part of Torah, and that has to do with our amalenu, yigasenu, the effort and the time and the amount of effort we put into the learning and our sitting and working on a sugya, on Torah, trying to understand something. Litchon, to grind, so to speak, as divrei haTorah hadei ketev, to try to grind the Torah as well as we can, or to chew it up, to use the same simile. Uladaktek b'tameim b'avanasam, and to want to get the answers and the reasons and the ideas and the understanding of the Torah. And that's the way we'll be able to taste the sweet nectar of and the pleasantness of the Torah itself. That's part one. Ulam, line 21. Ulam kayim b'Torah chelek nosaf. There's additional part to Torah. Einenu mesugalim lahasig b'sichlenu, that we're not able to perceive, we're not able to understand. Einenu mesugalim litomasa, we can't taste it. That's beyond our realm. That's the digestive area. Ach b'chol zos, but we learn it anyway. Because it gives sustenance to our soul. We digest the Torah and it gives us sustenance. And we don't have any control over that. We have a control over how much effort we put into it, how much we chew it, how long we keep it with us. Once it's part of our system, and it now becomes the sustenance to our soul. We don't know how good it is for our neshama, the Torah that we learn. There are things we have to learn which are good for the soul, and we should do it just for learning Torah. We have to learn Torah because there's a mitzvah in Torah. You don't understand it. It's above our pay grade, so to speak. We don't get it, but there's still a concept to learn it because it helps your neshama. It's good for your neshama. It keeps your neshama going. You didn't understand it. You didn't work on it. So what? Learning Torah. Domer hadavar la'adam shesovel mitazuna lakuya. He has some type of problem with his digestive system. Harofe mamlet volakakas vitamin and misuyim. He has to take certain vitamins. Vitamin. If he is able to swallow the vitamin, it won't taste it at all. He takes it and he takes the vitamin. It might be bitter, a bitter vitamin. Nevertheless, he's still going to swallow it. I'm taking it. It doesn't taste good, or I don't taste it at all, but I know it's going to help me. I know that the pill that I'm going to take will be beneficial for me. Kamo name divrei Torah. That's when it comes to divrei Torah as well. Sometimes we think, that doesn't apply. I don't know. I can't figure it out. That doesn't make sense to me. So forget it. No. We have to be mavata. We have to negate that idea to what Chazal tell us, and accept the words that they teach us, just pshitas, just pure and simple. Because Torah sustains the nefesh. Therefore, says Rav Druk, Alamiris Tehillim Mavur b'Sfas, the recitation of Tehillim in the Sfas Emes tells us, Shekasher Moshe Rabbeinu Beirach es Yehuda, when Moshe Rabbeinu gave a bracha to Yehuda at the end of his life in Sefer Dvarim, when at the end of Moshe Rabbeinu's life, he gave a bracha to Sheva Yehuda. Omar, he said, Shema Hashem Kol Yehuda. God should hear the voice of Yehuda. So the Sfas Emes says, what's the pshat that God should hear the voice of Yehuda? He says, Haisa Kavanasa l'Sefer Tehillim. Hashem should hear the voice of Yehuda. He is referring to Sefer Tehillim, Shechiber David HaMelech Mitzatzav Shel Yehuda. That was referring to Sefer Tehillim, which was written by David HaMelech, who was a descendant of Yehuda. V'hu bikesh shehaomer Tehillim. Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, Shema Hashem Kol Yehuda. The saying of Tehillim Yane B'chol Bakoshasav. That should help any request that people have. That should be for everybody's bakasha. V'kachu achin min hagen shel Yisrael b'chol asar v'asar b'chol eitzar v'tzukah mar b'mein b'amiras Tehillim. And that's the meaning of Klal Yisrael in all places, in any time of tzaros. So we say Tehillim. We don't really understand why the recitation of Tehillim should help us. What does it mean? What are the parameters of it? You should understand that these are spiritual vitamins, even though we don't understand how it works, we don't taste it, we just say it, but it's spiritual vitamins, we do it anyway. Okay, and that that is how, and he quotes the Chasam Sofer here, what the pshat is in that medrash, that by saying Tehillim, it's like Negaim. Listen carefully. He says, when it comes to halacha, when it comes to Negaim, when it comes to Tzaras, as we mentioned in the shir just now, it's the Kohen who determines whether he's Tahar or Tameh. Person can have Tzaras, but you don't know that it's Tzaras, and you're not Tameh until the Kohen declares it. The Kohen has to be the one who determines whether a person is Tameh and Tar, is a Tzarua or not. Okay? Shakohen hu akoveya im hanega tar or tameh. Whether the tzaras is tar or tameh. Gam im einenu mevin klal. Even if a person doesn't understand it all, tumas hanagan v'tahartam tluya b'amiras piv shal kohen. It's dependent on what the Kohen says. HaTalmid Chacham HaGadol B'Yoser, the person who's so an expert and proficient in all the laws of Nagam, right? He learned the Rambam Hilchos Tumas Tzaras. He learned Maseches Nagam. He knows it inside and out. He knows it perfect. But if he's not a Kohen, he can't make it Tahar or Tameh. It's only the Kohen. He says, "Afilu hu baki atzum b'maros negam eino yachol l'tamei al taras nega." Vilu Kohen am haaretz, but a Kohen is an am haaretz who has really no clue. Shaharav Amar lo, and the rabbi would tell him, look at that. I think that's tamei or that's tar. Hu koveas in naga. Interesting thing. The Kohen doesn't know a thing. He's just listening to what the guy tells him. The guy says it's tahar. He says tar. It's tar. If the guy himself knows it's tahar, who's an expert in it, doesn't have. It has to be the Kohen. Al kach bikesh David HaMelech. That is what David HaMelech was requesting. She'amiras mizmorei Tehillim yeh ka'osek b'negaim. Saying Tehillim should be like we're involved in Negaim. She'afilum einanu mevinim o masigin hasagos miyuchodas b'Tehillim. Even if we don't understand and we can't comprehend and we don't realize what the depth and what the importance of saying Tehillim is, hadavar yoel lanu l'zakei es nishmaseinu kilul mad Torah. Doesn't matter. We don't understand, but it should work anyway. We don't understand within a Gam. We don't understand certain things of Torah, but it doesn't matter. You do it anyway because that is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up the world. These are spiritual vitamins. Then he says, very simply, the Mishnah Berurah teaches us that we have to say Vayechulu right here on line 56. We say Vayechulu 3 times on Friday night. Echad b'tefillah, v'echad lachar tefillah, v'echad alakos. We say the paragraph Vayechulu 3 times Friday night, once in Shmon Esrei, once after the Amida, and once in Kiddush. And the Rokeach tells us that Shem Asa came miskaprin lo avonosa. The Mishnah Berurah brings down, it says you say Vayechulu 3 times on a Friday night, you have a kapara. He says, what does that mean? Why all of a sudden saying that Vayechulu should be mechaper? But here we have to know clearly that there are certain parts of Torah we don't understand certain things. They sustain our soul to show us that we don't have any really understanding of it. Aleinu lahamin be'emuna t'mima shemi she'ena ro'el l'chapar savonos yigol lo Hashem shelo yasim libo v'lo yomar be'emes gimel parim vaychlu. Somebody who's not going to have an understanding of it says, forget it, I don't have to say vaychlu. But somebody who has an understanding says, I don't understand why it works, but I know it works, so I'm going to do it anyway. He concludes by saying that was David HaMelech answered that asking that Tehillim should work? So he closes here with quoting the Shalah, the Sefer Shnei Luchos Abris, where he says right here on line 67, Mashma shekibel HaKadosh Baruch Hu dvarav. We think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did agree with what David HaMelech requested, Shakasav, because the Shalah writes, Va'omer Tehillim hu kimispalel. A person who's saying Tehillim, it is as if he davens, and it's as if he's learning Torah as well. Says the Shalah, it is as if he is involved in the depth of the Torah, like Negam and Olos. So David HaMelech's request was answered, says the Shalah Kadosh, and that is the secret of this of saying Tehillim. So we have this tremendous idea of what, even though we don't understand many of the Negayim and Olos and stuff like that, we still realize its depth and understanding, and so is our Tehillim as David HaMelech requested.